song to sing. And it might not be on key, but it's from my heart. And oh, I'm just telling what the Lord has done for me. And this might take all day, so I better start right now.
And it might get loud.
It might get loud. Heaven's coming down, down, down. And it might get loud. It might get loud. Heaven's coming down, down, down. And it might get loud. I don't have a halo, and no, I'm not a perfect man, but I'm just glad to be a child of God. And when I think of where I could have been, should have been, if you hadn't stepped in, I got a praise on the inside that can't be denied. And I
Gotta get it out right now. And it might get loud.
it might get loud. Heaven's coming down, down, down. And it might get loud. It might get loud. Heaven's coming down, down, down. And it might get loud. It might get loud. Heaven's coming down, down, down. And it might get loud. It might get loud. Heaven's coming down, down, down. And it might get loud. That's how that's all.
Why can't I praise Him as long as I want? Why can't I praise Him as long as I want? Why can't I praise Him as long as I want? Why can't I praise Him as long as I want? Why can't I praise Him as loud as I want? Why can't I praise Him as loud as I want? It might get loud.
Heaven's coming down, down, down. It might get loud.
Excuse me for a minute.
It might get loud.
Got a song to sing.
Heaven's coming down, down, down. It might get loud.
But I know I'm a hater.
It might get loud.
But I know I'm a child of
Heaven's
God.
coming down, down, down. It might get loud. Why can't I praise Him as loud as I want? Why can't I praise Him as loud as I want? Why can't I praise Him as loud as I want? Why can't I praise Him?
What up? Man, it sounds like some people are still on the high from Fields of Faith. I like it, I like it, I like it. Hey, I'm not going to take too long because that was awesome. We got to keep that energy going. But I want to tell you about two quick things we got coming up here. First one coming up on November 20th is Feed the City, okay? Feed the City. We have partnered with Hope Church this year, and our goal as a church is to give out 500 Thanksgiving meals to families in need. And so that's our goal, but we can't do it without you, right? So for information, you can go to southside.church/events, or you can also go to forthe478.com, and there's information there that you can find out more stuff about that. And so I would encourage you, there's a packing night on Friday, there's a distribution day on Saturday, and so pick one of those days, or maybe even both. We're not going to say no if you sign up for both. Okay, so get your friends, get together, let's help some people, let's deliver those 500 meals. And then on November 21st, Fires and Flannels is going to be taking place. It's a great night. That's a great night to invite a friend because I'm not speaking, Robbie's not speaking. It's students speaking. It's going to be the very people that you sit in class with, the very people that you do sports with, the very people that you do life with on a daily basis are going to be sharing about what God has been doing in their lives. So I would highly encourage you, if there's somebody you've been thinking about inviting, make this the night where you actually invite them. And so with that being said, we're going to head back into worship right now. I'm going to get off the stage.
As we continue to worship, everybody sing this out with us.
It wasn't for nothing that you shed your blood. Oh, I'm gonna live like my shame is gone. Won't be shackled to the way I was. Oh, I'm gonna live like my chain is gone. Gone. Now my sin is dead and gone, and I sing hallelujah. Done, done. He is risen and is done, and I sing hallelujah. Whoa. Praise is a weapon that will overcome. Oh, I'm gonna shout like the battle's won. Fall back, devil, 'cause the time is up. Oh, I'm gonna live like the stone is gone, gone. Now my sin is dead and gone, and I sing hallelujah. Done, done. He is risen and is done, and I sing hallelujah. How great the power of the blood. Whoa, whoa. I am the righteousness of God. Whoa, whoa. How great the power of the blood. Whoa, whoa. I am the righteousness of God. Whoa, 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 whoa. Gone, gone. Now my sin is dead and gone, and I sing hallelujah. Done, done. He is risen and is done, and I sing hallelujah. Gone, gone. Now my sin is dead and gone, and I sing hallelujah. Done, done. He is risen and is done, and I sing hallelujah.
So God is greater than any of your issues, anything that you're holding on. He's greater than any grudge. He's greater than anything that we might need to bring to him. And as we sing tonight, whether you know the words or not, man, we are here to praise his name. We're here to talk about Jesus Christ, who is a God of joy, of happiness. He's a God of people who overcome. And that's the message that we want to send out to you tonight, that he is greater and he is bigger. So I want to challenge you to close your eyes and just talk to God for a few minutes. when all along it was heaven chasing me. Oh, and your love is the real thing. It's a real thing. It's the air I breathe. And your love's got a hold on me, and it's holding me. It is everything. It's the real thing. Your grace is more than just an obligation. You give without a promise of return. Your mercy looks beyond my reputation. I belong in heaven's destiny. Your love, your love, your love is a real thing. It's a real thing. It's the air I breathe. Your love's got a hold on me, and it's holding me. It's my everything. It's the real thing. It's the I can't outrun it. I can't explain it. I don't deserve it. Jesus, your love for me, it's not complacent. It's always chasing. It won't abandon. Jesus, your love for me, not disappointed. Won't leave me wanting. It's overwhelming. Jesus, your love for me. I know I need it. I know it's worth it. The cross, it proves it. Jesus, your love for want you to remind us over and over and over that you are everything that we need. You are so, so real. And you will always love us no matter what. God, I thank you for these students. I thank you for these leaders. I thank you for everyone that has a part in this ministry to bring people to Christ so that they can experience this real love. Whatever we're holding on to, God, take it away from us. Fight our battles for us. We will forever praise your name. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen. You all may go back to your seats.
Up, everybody. Man, it's been a while since I've been on the stage. My wife chose to get COVID when I was supposed to speak, and then my kids chose to get it right after that. It's okay for them. It didn't hit them very bad, and I never got it. But I haven't been up here for like 2 months, so I'm so glad to be here with you guys tonight. And how many of you like a good prank? Anyone? Anyone? Yeah, I love watching prank videos. I love pulling pranks. Like, I love messing with people. Usually it's like verbally. I saw, like, just the other week, we had Catherine Reeves convinced that Juliana Fowler, 10th grade small group leader, had spoken at Fields of Faith 5 years ago, and that Catherine couldn't remember it. And like, how terrible of a friend are you because you don't remember her speaking there? I mean, I didn't even have a conversation with people. People were just jumping in like, yeah, how do you not remember that? I mean, it was awful for her. But anyway, like, it was really funny to us, and Catherine was a good person, and she got over it. So I love doing that. But I'm just gonna be honest with you, I'm a hypocrite because I hate when people pull pranks on me. I cannot stand it, I do not like it, I do not enjoy it. And I'm gonna tell a story that I have never really shared before, and it's gonna make the person really happy, but luckily they're not here tonight, so they can't like gloat about it. But so I'll kind of set it up. It was about 7 years ago, and we had some interns, they were high schoolers that summer, and there was this person, and by the way, I'm just gonna go ahead and say I'm not the good person in the story. I'm a terrible human being, but I just wanna be blunt with you. There was this person who would she was an adult, and she made some kind of annoying post on Instagram. And I was like, oh, this would be a funny comment if I posted this. And it was like semi-rude and very funny and would have got lots of likes and it would have been funny. And I had typed it out, but I did not hit send. And someone in the room was like, hey, let me see the post and what you said. And I was like, yeah, sure. And they're like, oh no, I just hit send. And I'm like, no, you didn't. And they're like, yes, I did. And I'm like, no. And so they're like, oh, I deleted it, it's okay. And I'm like, well, do they get like a notification? Can they see that? And my friend in the room, I thought was my friend, was like, well, let's just see. Why don't you comment on something and delete it? And he's like, yeah, I totally just saw what you said. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And so I'm pretty tense, like I'm at mid-level right now. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to my office, I gotta cool down. Like, I'm upset, but it's gonna be okay, I think. And so I'm up in my office and I get a text message from Josh Ray, who was the high school pastor here at the Warner Robins campus back then, who was also my boss at that time, because I was the high school director at Kathleen. And he's like, hey, I just got this text message, and he sends me a screenshot from this leader of mine, and they were wondering why you posted this on their photo on Instagram. And so my heart sinks, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Let me come to your office and let me explain this. And I'm trying to justify that, yeah, I typed it, but I didn't send it, so it's totally this other person's fault. And he's like, I don't know, you need to fix this. And so I go to that other person, I'm like, you're coming with me, we're going to this person's house, and we're gonna tell them how it's your fault. And he's like, it's not my fault, it's your fault. And I'm like, no, it's totally your fault. Which again, I'm in the wrong, because I did type it out. And I'm getting really upset right now, because I'm freaking out. I'm like, I'm gonna lose my job, this is awful, I can't believe I did this, and where you did this. And finally the guy's like, dude, it's a joke. I never hit send. We're all messing with you. And I was very upset in that moment. I find out that Micah had actually gotten Josh in on it and had told Josh to change his number on the phone. And so Josh and Micah are texting back and forth. I was quite upset. I did not want to be around Micah Walls, Cody Lassiter, or Sam Thomaston, because Sam Thomaston is the one who hit send. And I was very upset. yeah, I just basically went to my office, packed up, and I left for the day. It was pretty late in the day, but I was upset. With all that being said, I got over it, obviously. It's not something, he likes to bring it up and I always just ignore it, but this will be the first time I publicly said, you got me really good, and I was terrible in that situation, because I always try to say it was his fault. It was definitely all my fault. You shouldn't do things like that. With all that being said, though, that was something I could get over, but I understand in your life there's been things where your friends or maybe a family member has done something that wasn't so easy to get over, wasn't so cut and dry as like, well, you shouldn't type dumb things up and expect people not to hit send. And sometimes things that make us angry or make us upset, might even get us a little bitter, could be something like you're at home on a Friday, no one like made any plans for the weekend or whatever, so you're just scrolling through Instagram, maybe you're watching some TikToks, and you see that all your friends are like hanging out at so-and-so's house, or they're hanging out at that restaurant, or they're all at the football game, and they never mentioned that whatsoever to you. They never told you that was going on, and you're like, I thought we were friends. Or on TikTok, they're making videos together, and like, what? I thought that was our thing. Like, they totally just like dropped you. They didn't do that. Or maybe like another situation that might have happened is, maybe there's a little bit of resentment or anger because, you had told a friend something, maybe it was a character flaw or something about yourself, and you trusted them. You thought that they could handle that. They wouldn't tell anybody else. But what you didn't know is they actually went and told that one person that you really can't stand, like you haven't really been friends with that person since elementary school. And so now like that person knows that thing about you. And you're pretty upset right now. Like, how am I supposed to come back from that? Like, I thought you were my friend, but now you're telling people that thing I trusted you with. And it's not always just our friends. Like, bitterness isn't just reserved for them. Like, it can also be with our family. Maybe you got invited to this really awesome party. It's gonna be really big. It's gonna be awesome. Everyone's gonna be at it. And your parents are like, no, you're not going to it. Or you're like, hey, can I borrow the car? Because you weren't one of those kids that like was blessed with a car when you turned 16. And so you're like, can I borrow the car? And they're like, no. Or they say no to everything. Anyone can relate to that? You don't have to raise your hand. I could as a high schooler. Or maybe your sibling is always borrowing your stuff. If it's your clothes or it's just random items, and it never comes back in the same condition. It's broke, it's stained, and it's messed up, and you're just like, why, God, did you bless me with this sibling like they ruin everything I have? Maybe that goes on for you. And lastly, who's like the oldest child? Anyone who's like the oldest child in your family? You had some siblings, right? So when you think of turning 16 and getting your license, you think like, yes, freedom, I'm gonna get to drive places, but your parents actually have this other plan, and it's you being an Uber driver, and it's like, oh yeah, your sister has practice, or you go pick your brother up from his friends, and you just always having to drive everyone else, and it's not like, what about me? Like, why can't I do my thing? And I don't know what it's for you, and if we're honest, like, we all have a little bit of bitterness in different places in our life, and some of it's stronger. Some of us, we have very little, and that's good. Like, that's what it should be. But what do you do with the worst stuff that happens to you, especially when you can't stop thinking about it, and it's gripping you? Like, some of those things that, like, someone either they did something or something happened, and, like, you cannot get over it. Like, it pops up, and it makes you upset. Like, it just triggers you. Like, this is not cool. And when we're young, it typically goes something like this. When something happens, someone does something to you, an adult says, like, hey, you need to say sorry to them. And so then you're like, sorry. And it takes a minute. You might get over it because that was like a fake sorry. And as we get older, though, it doesn't really get any better. A lot of times you just don't have that adult there. Sometimes even as an adult, it can get a little bit harder because you're like, no, I've seen you for the last X amount of years. I know that you're not sorry for what you just did. And so we might even hold on to that a little bit harder. In a lot of ways, sometimes it's easier when you're a kid. Like my kids, like I got a 1-year-old who's gonna be 2, and my daughter just turned 4. Like he'll go up to his sister and just like take the remote and just pop her right in the head. And I'm like, whoa, say you're sorry. And he's like, sorry. And he gives her a hug and they're over. I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to see that when you're 16 and 18. Like, I'll have to call the cops. So, it changes as you get a little bit older. Right now, it's cute and funny, but I don't think they're gonna be like that when they get older. And, you're probably not gonna be surprised by this, but the Bible actually does talk about this very subject. And tonight we're gonna be going way back. We're gonna be looking at a guy about 2,000 years ago who helped start the church, and someone that we talk about a lot. His name was Paul. And Paul was a very famous person back then because he went around speaking to different groups, helping start the church, establishing it, growing it, just helping these people. He would be writing letters to them. He would be visiting them. You could say he became really kind of infamous. He became hated by people for the things that he did, which was the right thing. Like people in these regions would hate him because of how much he lived for Christ, how much he loved Christ. They would not treat him the way he should have been treated, which when we look at it, it would be pretty hard to be him because what kind of target did he have on his back? What are the ways that he suffered? Well, he was put in prison over and over. Like, I don't think anyone's like, yeah, I want to go to prison. He was beaten. Not cool. He was flogged, which means that he was like beaten with a whip or a baseball bat. Well, not baseball bat, they didn't have that, but like some type of wooden rod. And lastly, he was stoned, which doesn't mean he was doing drugs. It means that people were throwing rocks at him at very fast speeds, which would not be very fun at all, because if someone throws something at you and hits you, it doesn't, so imagine like a bunch of rocks hitting you, yeah, not cool. And those are the types of things he went through. And if you think about being in his shoes, like here's a guy who's trying just to do the right thing. Like he's just trying to live for God. He's just trying to tell people about Jesus. He's just trying to go to church. And he's constantly getting beat down for the thing that he's doing, which he's called to do. Imagine that. Like that would not be an easy thing to do. I mean, this is not the fame that any of us would want. We don't want to be famous for being lovers of Christ and then getting beat for it. Like that's not what anyone's like. I don't think anyone's shooting for that right now. But Paul actually speaks to some people in Thessalonica, and he actually tells them about bitterness and what we should do when that comes up, and what about unforgiveness. And this is what he says in 1 Thessalonians 5:15. He says, make sure that nobody pays back wrong for wrong. Meaning, like, if someone does something to you and it was wrong, we don't go do it back to them. We don't pay them back for the very thing that they just did to us. So, we're not doing eye for an eye. We're not plotting revenge against them. And sometimes it may not even just be like that they did something outrageous. Maybe paying back wrong for wrong could sound like they never apologized, so I can't forgive them. They don't deserve my forgiveness or my friendship after that. They didn't earn my forgiveness, or they haven't paid for what they did. They hurt me, so I'm going to hurt them. They're canceled. It could be any one of those things. But he's saying, man, we cannot pay back wrong for wrong. And again, this is a guy who's always getting wronged, and he's literally doing like the stuff that God's telling him to do. He's literally doing the right thing. He's living for Christ, and that's what he's telling them. But even though Paul suffered, and for an unfair reason, he didn't believe that his mistreatment required revenge. Instead, he writes in the same verse, he says, but always strive to do what is good for each other and for everyone else. So not only that are we supposed to keep ourselves from paying someone back, like we're supposed to just do what is good for them. Like we're supposed to do the right thing. Even when they do the wrong thing to us, they wrong us, like I'm still supposed to just act like it didn't happen, kind of. Like I'm supposed to just to treat them the way I would want to be treated. Like that's what I'm supposed to do. Like, but they just really just did that to me. But that's what he's telling us to do. Like you got to do what is good for each other and for everyone else. Because see, Jesus changes how we see everything, especially forgiveness. And Paul understood a fundamental truth about bitterness and holding on to hurt. And that truth is, the more you hold on to the grudge, the more it holds on to you. The more you hold on to a grudge, the more it holds on to you. The longer you let it seep in you, the more it's just going to grow and it's going to fester. And it's going to get bigger and bigger. And there's kind of a cycle, I would say, with a grudge. It's like a weight that you carry with you. And a lot of times it starts off light and it gets a little heavier and heavier. So I'm going to need somebody to help me. Okay, Gwen. Gwen, if you want to, you raised your hand first. You can come on up here. All right, come on up here, Gwen. You're gonna be my bucket holder. So this is your life. It's this empty bucket. Yeah, come on stage. Yeah, your bucket is this empty. Your life is this empty bucket. Not really, but you're gonna probably just do one hand. Whoa, not me. Like you need to hold it right there. Okay. So let's just say. Terrible example, but let's just say like we're good friends, and you told me some stuff, and I didn't hold on to that, right? Like I told a few people, so you're kind of upset. You just found out. So like these rocks, these are gonna kind of represent that grudge, that bitterness, and like these don't really weigh a lot, right? Like is that bad? Like you could carry that around. Like you got your arm like that, like you could carry that around. And so I know you go to a smaller school, nothing wrong, like go Lancers, right? CFCA. So it spread kind of quick. Like pretty much everyone in your whole class knows in like 2 days. So. Everyone knows about it. So, like, that's still, you can handle that, right? Like, that's not too bad. You're upset, like, you're seeing me now, and you're, like, in the hallway, and you're like, that guy, he told everyone that, like, what the heck? And it's okay, you're over it, like, but now your friends are wanting to hang out with me, because they're like, Robbie's actually kind of a cool guy. And so now when you see me, you're, like, really upset. How's that? Is that fun? Would you like to walk around with that all day? No. That's a lot heavier. You can't just hold that with one hand. You can go back, sit down. But that's what our life is. You can just leave it there. Here, anyone want this rock? Yeah, I'm just kidding. We're not getting stoned tonight. All right, so anyway, that is kind of what it's like, is when we hold on to that bitterness, it just keeps growing and growing. And as easy as it was for her to walk around, like there's like 2 rocks in here, and like that's easy to walk around with. But like having to walk around with that giant bucket, not so easy. But that's what we do. I'll share a real life example with you going into my life. This happened 11 years ago. A person, they wronged me without wronging me, but it definitely affected me. So this happened about 11 years ago. I found out that they had done something that, to me at that time, was very unforgivable. And this person was very much in my life. And when I found it out, I was very upset. This person didn't ever want me to know that this situation, I know I'm not telling you guys all the things, but it doesn't. I just want to be real though, but I'm not going to share all the details. But this person had done something, and man, when I saw them, kind of like that example I just shared, my blood would just boil. Like I could not stand seeing this person. And the thing was, I saw this person almost daily. And I'm in college at the time, and this person is very much in my life. And again, this person didn't set out to like do something against me, but it definitely truly affected me. And it took me years. I mean, if you were in the same room with us, it was tense. Like people knew there was something off about these two individuals. They were not talking. And if and when we were forced to talk, it was just like no sense. It was like, okay, yeah, you do that. Like we were just like the barest minimum of cordial. And I'm gonna be honest, like it took me a long time. I was walking around with a giant bucket. Like this guy could make my skin crawl just seeing him, which was all on me. Like I was doing this to myself. I was letting this grudge just hold into me and just let it grow. I was letting that bitterness, because of what this individual had done, I was letting that take over me. And it wasn't until I had talked to some people in my life and I finally just gave it to God and I said, you know what? I need to get over this. This happened years ago. Like, this isn't a thing anymore. It ain't happening again. And again, I want to be honest, it took a long time, but I finally gave it to God and it was good. I got over it. I could be in the same room with that person. I could be cordial. I could actually have a conversation with the person. I wasn't saying this person was my best friend by any means. I didn't go hang out with this individual, but I was over it. And then, fast forward to a few more years, the individual does something again that affects me. And instead of like a few rocks this time, I just jumped right back into that full bucket because it was the same guy. And he's done something again. And so I go right back here and I have all that stuff again. And I'm holding all those rocks. And I'm just like, man. But instead of like holding on to it forever this time, man, I talked to some people that were in leadership in my life, and I got it off my chest. And again, I gave it to God, and I was like, you know what? This person didn't do this against you. Yeah, it affects you, but he didn't do it against you, and I got over it. But again, it took a long time, but that was the best feeling in the world is when I gave that to God. And I know that some of you, you've gone through some situations that are significantly worse than I've ever been through. There is some people that have truly wronged you. There is some things in your life that I couldn't even imagine that you're going through. The people have done things, and see, God doesn't want you to live with that forever. He doesn't want that just to sit on you. He doesn't want that to build constantly. He doesn't want you to be walking around with that giant weight. And he wants you to give that to him. And see, because forgiveness is a conscious decision to let go of someone's debt to us and not expect them to make it up for it. You know, we want people to say they're sorry and to make it right, but that's just not how it always works. But we have the ability to forgive and not expect anything from that individual. And that's definitely not easy. It's hard, and it's not something that just happens immediately. It can take a long time. And I do want to make a side note. Let's be clear. If we are by no means saying that people who had treated you unfairly, have abused you, have taken advantage of you, have done wrong by you, like you need to have a conversation. We're not giving them like, oh, that was okay. That's not okay. And if you've ever been in a situation of any of that and you haven't talked to a trusted adult, like a small group leader or someone here or at school, like you need to have that conversation. That is what we're here for. We want you to know like this is a safe place, like we're here for you, because not every situation is the same. There's a difference of trying to convince someone that someone spoke at FCA and just straight up taking advantage of them. Like we don't want that in your life. So I want you guys to know, like, man, Jesus set the example of forgiveness when he died on the cross. Because he knew that us being humans, like we were gonna have a hard time when it came to bitterness. Like he knew that like it was gonna be tough for us. And so he wanted to make sure that, man, we don't pay back wrong for wrong and hold on to our bitterness and hurt. See, Jesus wants us to forgive for our sake, not just for the other people. Forgiving the people who hurt us is in our best interest, and Jesus wants us to live a healthy and whole life. And to clarify, forgiveness is not It is not that you aren't hurt. It is not that the other person shouldn't experience consequences. It is not for the other person's benefit. It doesn't mean the relationship stays the same. It doesn't mean you can't set boundaries, and it doesn't mean you condone or excuse the offense. It doesn't mean you still date them, and it doesn't mean you stay quiet if someone is hurting you or other people, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you forget what happened, okay? Just because you forgive someone doesn't mean like it never happened, that was okay, just don't no. That stuff still happened. It just means that we are forgiving something that we may never get any we may never get righted for, like they can't fix it, but it happened. But we're letting go of that. We're giving that to God. Speaking up is not tattling or getting someone punished. It is loving yourself and telling a trusted adult to keep yourself and others safe. Speaking up is being honest for the good of all. And forgiveness isn't a magic Band-Aid that makes everything better. You can't just slap that thing on and your life feels better. Like I said, it's a process, especially depending if it's been something you've been dealing with for a long time. It's not just something that is just, it's gone. Some people, it is like that, but for others, man, it's a process. You're gonna have to talk to people. You're gonna have to deal with this. This isn't something that it just fixes itself. And if you're wondering if you're still holding on to some bitterness, I actually gonna have on the back screen some questions I want you guys to think through. So here we go. Number one, do you have arguments with someone in your head? You know those internal conversations where you basically tell them what's up, like how you're right. Have you ever done that? Yeah, think about that. 2, are you giving a close friend or a family member the silent treatment? You doing that? Like I shared earlier, I did that to somebody for a long time. 3, do you consistently subtweet comments in person or online to someone? Do you always just commenting on whatever they post? Are you doing that? 4, do you leave passive-aggressive comments on someone's Instagram pics or screenshot them and send them to other friends with snarky comments? You do that? Yeah, I hear laughing. Seems like some of you are. Do you think about ways you can pay someone back for what they did to you 6 months ago? If you answered yes to any one of those questions, guess what? You are experiencing some bitterness in your life. Like, you are dealing with that. I know, it's crazy. So that's not good, right? Like, again, this is something that we all deal with, but hopefully you didn't answer like yes to all 6 of those, because yeah, that might be something you need to get off your chest and talk to someone. But have you ever thought about this? Holding on to resentment and being bitter can be bad for you, because see, here's the thing, you can technically be right and you can have the truth, but if you're just like holding that all against them and trying to justify that, you're just really hurting yourself. You're just getting angry. You're letting them control your life without them like knowing that they're controlling your life, because they may not even, sometimes people do things to us and we're so mad at them, we so resent them, they don't even realize that they did it. Like, they could come up, like, you might finally, one day, like, I just gotta tell you, like, I've been upset about this thing that you did, and they're like, huh? I did that? Like, that's how crazy this stuff can be sometimes. And not all the time. A lot of times people know exactly what they did, but we can hold on to that and it just lets it fester, lets it build inside of us, and just tears us down. It can really kind of start driving us away from God. Not that God left us, but it's like we're just so focused on that, like we can't even focus on that relationship with Christ. We can't focus on the healthy things in our life because we're so focused on that one event, that one person that keeps coming. And I know I'm asking a lot here by telling you guys, man, you need to get some freedom in this. You need to maybe, again, confess this to God. You need to speak to an adult. You need to do something. Talk to a trusted friend, because again, I know these situations can all be, but you gotta do something with it, because if you're just holding on to it, it's just gonna keep growing and growing and growing. And so I know it's a lot, and it's not gonna fix it overnight, but here's some steps you guys can take to get some freedom from bitterness. First, acknowledge your feelings, like share that with someone. Tell someone. It's okay to be hurt, upset, angry, sad, or disappointed. Pretending like these feelings aren't there doesn't make anything better. It's not gonna fix it. And the second thing, don't let your feelings control you, because I've been there. We let our feelings do the talking and let the feelings drive us, and they will not take you where you want to be. It'll take you a lot of times down a road that you shouldn't be on. It'll take you down the wrong path. And then the last thing, and finally I want to repeat this, there is no overnight success escaping bitterness. It's a process, it takes time, so keep taking one step and then taking it again and again. It is a process. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's a lot harder, but you gotta just keep one foot in front of the other. You gotta keep going forward. And I get it, forgiving someone feels like the other person is getting something from you. It feels like they won potentially, forgiving them. But as you head out, think about this. What are you getting from holding on to your bitterness? Like, is there any benefit to that? And if you could stop replaying the offense over and over in your mind, how much would you get back? If you could let go of your need to be right, how much less stress would you feel? And if you could let go of your need to make things fair, what else could you be doing? I know, again, it sounds counterintuitive or unreasonable. I know it sounds unfair, but man, forgiving someone is the best thing you can do for yourself. Because see, the more you hold on to a grudge, the more it holds on to you. And I'm telling you, there's people that will hold on to these for years. I mean, like the whole thing you see in movies and TV shows, and maybe you've experienced it in real life, like where family members haven't talked in years, decades, that happens all the time. And it can be over some really silly things, but they just won't let go of that. They just hold on to that forever and ever. And that is not what God wants for us. So we're gonna go to small groups here in a minute, and we're gonna talk more about this. And I hope that if some of you need to speak to someone, that you do that tonight. I'm available, all your small group leaders are available. We're here for you. We love you guys. And so I'm gonna pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for each and every one of these students, the leaders in here tonight, Lord. And just help us just to think through our life and what is festering in us. Are we holding some bitterness against somebody, some situation? Are we letting something control us? Maybe they don't even realize it. Help us to start giving that to you, Lord, to start forgiving that person, that thing. Help us to start just coming to terms with that, Lord, and just help these students as they head back to school, just to be a light for you. And in Jesus' name I pray, amen. If this is your first